Philippa Gregory is passionate about history, more specifically about rescuing women from history. You see, until the 1950s, historians were almost always men, and it's pretty evident when you look at the historical records. The stories of women in 18th century England have either been largely ignored or grossly misinterpreted. So Philippa set out to research and write about some of these women. Women like Mary Queen of Scots and Mary Boleyn, you know, the other Boleyn girl, aka Scarlett Johansson.
You hardly know me.
So who is Philippa? A feminist? A historian? Well, she's not what she thought she'd be, that's for sure. A PhD in 18th century lit, Philippa wanted to be a teacher. But when there were no suitable jobs in her field, she wrote her first piece of historical fiction. And much to her surprise, it became a bestseller, as did the books that followed. Philippa has sold about 12 million books worldwide. Though, like most writers, she has at times wrestled with things like writer's block. She says she has a surefire cure. Wouldn't you like to know? We'll get into that. Her success as a writer? What comes down to her ability to blend historical fact with entertaining fiction. But where does the fact end and the fiction begin? Her latest one is called The Lady of the Rivers. It tells the story of the Duchess of Bedford during the Wars of the Roses. And as always, Philippa isn't afraid to play with history.
Richard Woodville brought his bride home and set up home with her in Grafton in Northamptonshire, and then faced the dangers and the opportunities of the Wars of the Roses.
Philippa Gregory. Hello, Miss. How are you?
I'm good.
Nice to see you. Welcome.
Thanks.
Nice to see you.
Oh, well, very nice to be here.
It's quite a journey for a novelist.
Oh, well, and all around America as well.
Is
I've
it?
just been on a book tour.
It's unbelievable.
So I've seen the inside of many hotel rooms.
How's that working out for you?
You don't need to take a tour. That's a good thing. There's no open-top bus or anything. You just go airport, hotel room, event, back to the airport.
When I went through it, I was like, this is a TV series ready to happen, right?
I think it is a TV series about to happen. Touch wood. I mean, we have prospects.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the Tudors, will it be just like lots of sex overloaded with it?
Yeah.
Because I put the Tudors on, I was like, is this even real or is this just a softcore? How is this happening?
Well, I think it's both.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, like in my movie, The Other Boleyn Girl, you know, if you cast Eric Bana and Natalie Portman and Scarlett Johansson, it's going to be nice to look at.
Right.
And you know, obviously the script is going to incline towards a little bit of incidental nudity, because why would you hire Eric Bana and not write a scene where he takes his clothes off?
Right.
You'd be mad.
So in your head, you were just like, if I could see him without clothes, I just have to do this.
Yes.
It's quite powerful.
Here's a good moment now. Yes, Henry VIII takes a bath, you know, like Henry VIII takes a sauna, a jacuzzi, you know. Who cares?
But it does speak to how we view that time. It's as if we had actually been able to time travel like Bill and Ted's, the great historians, we could go back and we could see that. Was everybody back then so attractive? Because whenever we see depictions of them, they're always so attractive.
Well, you don't get a lot of old people because they die at about 45.
Right.
So you've eliminated, you know, a lot of people there. A lot of people don't survive, so if you survive at all, you're going to be pretty fit and healthy.
Right.
But your teeth are terrible, and, you know, everybody has diabetes, you know, and everybody has heart attack, and the fat people get really, really, really fat.
That's right.
But, you know, yeah, there's some beautiful people. I mean, it's a tyrannical court run by a man. There's always going to be beautiful people there.
You spend a lot of time getting into these stories, and you have to understand. Do you ever face writer's block? How do you deal with that?
Oh, I have a recipe for writer's block. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, and I offer this to you and to any writer, you have to put a sandwich in one pocket and a bottle of water in another. You've got to have a good dog. You say to the dog, so your subconscious can hear, I'm stuck on this book. I'm going to walk, say, west, non-stop, until I've figured out what to do. And the dog goes, oh, no, because he knows what that means.
Right.
So you set out the door and you just, like, take a compass bearing and you just go straight. And for the first mile or so, your subconscious goes, she won't do it. And then you stop and you eat your sandwich and the subconscious goes, like, time to turn around now, and you keep going. And before dark, the subconscious goes, I give up. You win. This is the solution you want. This is how to do the story. Because the subconscious is not going to have you sleeping under a tree overnight.
And so you that's pretty special. That would really suck if you were stuck for a while. You just walk and walk and walk.
You do. But I've never, ever been out overnight.
You've done a really good job of telling stories of these women that most people have never heard of. Somehow, you found them and decided to show like the strong feminist tale, in a sense. How did you even find these women? Because they're not really talked about.
I kind of find them two ways, and one is that I look at a story that everybody knows, only the woman in it is a bad woman and we don't like her. And if you look at it from her point of view, it's a very different story. So, for instance, if you look at the character of Margaret of Anjou, Shakespeare calls her the she-wolf of France. She's a bad person, she's ambitious, we think she's horrible. If you look at that story from her point of view, you see a woman really fighting to defend her kingdom. Her husband's sick, she's trying to keep him on the throne, and she's got a little boy that she wants to inherit the throne. Looked at from that way, she's a heroine. And so, in a way, sometimes I find people who are hidden in plain sight. They're absolutely there. Then occasionally, like in this new book, The Lady of the Rivers, she's a woman that everybody knew at the time. She was one of the leading ladies at the court. She's mother to the Queen of England. She's tried for a witch because they say her daughter could only have married the king if she'd been under a spell. Extraordinary story. And yet people just lost interest in it.
How do you tell the story and stay historically true? Or do you have to stay historically accurate?
There's no history police who come round at midnight and take you off if you've been...
But there's lots of other history professors that like to talk. It's a highly critical game, right?
It is, it is. I like to stay on the historical record just because I like to, and also because it's more interesting than anything you could invent. I mean, the story of these women and their survival against the odds and their determination, like to get to the throne of England and to hold on to it. It's fantastic. You couldn't make it up. So I don't. I follow the history.
But when you're writing first-person stuff, are you trying to envision what they would think, or...?
Oh, I'm trying to be them.
Yeah?
I have long periods of time where I am them.
How does your husband Anthony feel about that?
It depends on what they're like. So we were driving somewhere, and he said, I was quiet for a long, long time, and that's quite unusual. And he said to me, "What are you thinking about?" And I said, "Robert Dudley." And Robert Dudley was Elizabeth I's great lover, you know, and he knew, therefore, that I'd just spent in this drive with him most of it thinking about another man.
That's right.
Now some men will find that offensive. He just goes like, she's working. It's what she does.
I heard you're thinking about young adult series now.
Oh, yeah, well, that's going to be sort of historical. It's set in the medieval world, but it's the stuff that I don't dare to do in the historical fiction. So wolves, werewolves, witches, vampires, anything. Anything.
Between the Twilight business, there's a market there to sell this stuff?
I've never looked at it before, because I don't have children of that age, and I've never had any reason to be interested in it before. There's a thing called vampire romance. Can you imagine? What are we doing to the girls of Canada? If they're reading about vampire romances, what are they going to think their boyfriends will want to do?
Right.
You know, I was brought up very strictly myself, and there was no exchange of bodily fluids in any way at all.
Certainly not blood into teeth.
No. I mean, they'll think they're having a little kiss.
So then what are you going to do? Do you have to apply some sort of morality to it to kind of right some of the wrongs? That's right, I said wrongs, Edward. Like, do you have to find a way to tell a different story?
What I always do, because it's how I write and it comes from me, is I always have a view that, you know, women should be respected and that women's rights should be acknowledged and that women should be seen as the powerful actors that they are.
Yeah. You do that well in your stories, for sure.
Well, it's where I come from, in my heart, so that's easy to do.
When you were growing up, were there strong women around you that you could identify with? Because it's very easy to go down that other road.
I was raised by a widow, so there wasn't a husband in the house, and I had an older sister, and my education was paid for by a spinster aunt who was one of the first graduates from Oxford. So I was really indoctrinated really early on with, like, firstly, you've got to earn your own living, you've got to stand on your own 2 feet, you've got to get an education.
Right. Have you, what does feminism mean to you then?
Actually, it's a kind of way of being. So, of course, I stand on my own 2 feet, I earn my own living, I expect respect from men, and I expect equal rights and equal opportunities for me and for all women. Absolutely. And why anybody would say I'm not a feminist, I go like, oh, you're mental then? I'm so sorry. That would account for the shoes, you know. You know.
You must read the book. You absolutely must read it. It's beautiful. The Lady of the Rivers. Philippa, it's so great to see you.
It's been a real pleasure.
We'll be right back.
Thank you. Thanks.